welcome to another episode of the Black Heights Podcast. And tonight we have a special guest. Tonight we have Miss Anjanette Dawes. Anjanette is a project manager, and she will be talking a lot about project management tonight. I met Anjanette in grad school at the Georgia Tech University, where we did our MBAs together. And let me just tell you right now, she is a brilliant person. She has a lot of knowledge. She's experienced. She's exposed. She has exposure. She's going to give you the exposure. She's doing some wonderful things, and she's done some wonderful things in her career. Let me introduce you guys to Miss Anjanette. Anjanette, how you doing? Tell the people how you are doing today.
I am well. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share my story about my career, my education.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just glad that we were finally able to make this happen. I know we've been talking about it for a couple of months, but
Yep.
just based on my travel schedule, your schedule as well, we had some challenges, but we're here tonight.
We are here tonight, and guys, I hope you prepared for a wonderful show. Like always, we got some people in the chat. We got Miss Tiffany Wade in the chat. We have my mom, Miss Patricia Schuler in the chat. Hi, mom, and all the other people that are watching us tonight. Good evening, my brother Clark Wade. Guys, you know how we rock this show. We rock this show like this. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat at any point in time, and we will try to get to them. You know how this show is. It's very interactive. It's very interactive. Wendy, how are you doing, cousin? All right. So, how we start the show, doing a little bit of this or that. Anjanette, you ready for a little bit of this or that?
I'm scared, but I'm ready.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. All right. What do you prefer? World of Coke or the Georgia Aquarium?
Ooh, World of Coke.
World of Coke. Okay. What about True Love or $10 million?
Oh, give me the money.
I hear that. I hear that. All right. What about
Give me my coins.
Bitcoins? All right. What about East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast. San Francisco is my favorite city. So
Ooh,
I'd have to say West Coast.
you know what? Last night I had dinner with Mr. Nolan Code. If he's watching us, what's up, Nolan?
Ah,
We were in San Francisco. We went to one of my favorite French restaurants there. So,
oh, nice.
yes. All right, Kamala Harris or Cory Booker?
Ooh. I know both of them have had some challenges. I haven't really been following them, but as an African American woman, I got to go with the female.
I got it. Okay. What about Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Oh, again, I think that's a no-brainer. I'm gonna stick with Miss Harris.
Got it. Got it. Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out Burger?
Oh, Chick-fil-A
Ooh,
with the lemonade. Excuse me,
ooh.
an Arnold Palmer. I got to have the Arnold Palmer.
I got it. I got it. Listen to music or read a book?
Both are my shared first loves, so I don't think I can pick one or the other. I have to have both.
Wow. No, you have to pick one or the other. This is this or that. This is it. Both.
Ooh, if a gun is to my head, I think I'm gonna go with the music.
Oh, that's a good choice. Very good choice. Flat heels or flats or heels?
Heels,
Stay in or go out?
stay in.
LA or New York City?
New York,
Ooh. Beer or wine?
neither.
Got it. Have a life rewind button or a life pause button? That's deep.
I'm sure there has been plenty of moments I've wanted to take a pause.
Yep.
I don't think I would want to rewind just because all of the ups and downs that I've had has gotten me to where I am today. So don't want to rewind, but definitely pause sometimes.
No, that's deep. I love it. Professor Debbie Turner or Professor Matt Higgins?
Turner all day. Higgins got on my last nerve.
We had conversations about that last night. I chose Debbie Turner as well. She was a wonderful teacher. Okay. All right. Would you rather have more time or would you rather have more money?
More time.
Sweet tea or unsweet tea?
Sweet. I'm a Georgia peach.
Got
Don't
it.
give me any unsweetened tea.
Meet your
Blasphemy.
oh, blasphemy. Meet your great grandparents or meet your great grandchildren.
My great grandchildren.
Mm. No one shows up to your wedding or no one shows up to your funeral.
Ooh.
That's a deep one.
No one shows up to my wedding.
Wow, you want to be remembered. Okay. Um,
Right.
be
Right.
an adult your whole life or be a kid your whole life.
Be a kid.
All right, last one.
Just enjoy and laugh.
Yes, I would choose the same thing. Okay. See into the future or change the past.
That's a good one. I would think to see into the future.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Look at that. We got the questions answered. I think the team and the people watching knows a little bit more about you, Anjanette. We got some more people in the house. TB Jackson, what's up, Ant? What's up, man? Ramon, Chick-fil-A, of course, he said. Hey, guys. How you doing, Ramon? How you doing, brother? And what's up, TB Jackson? Terrence, thank you for watching, my man. Let's jump into this thing, Anjanette. Uh,
Okay.
tell everyone your story, your journey.
Oh, wow. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'll take a start, and then if I get too long-winded, you just push me along.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, my career path, my education path, probably in my path in life has just been very untraditional.
Hmm.
You and I, spoke briefly before we got started, and I don't know that I've necessarily knew exactly what I wanted to do, but I was definitely sure on what I didn't want.
Mm,
And that fueled me to move forward and to move into different directions.
mm,
I grew up in Riverdale. For those that are in Atlanta and know the Riverdale that exists today, which is right below the airport, it was definitely not that 30 plus years ago.
mm,
When I was growing up, they were still having Klan rallies.
mm,
I had friends that I played with in my neighborhood who parents made it very clear that I was not allowed inside their home. I
mm,
can play with my friends all day outside. Excuse me. So from that, I knew very early on that one, I didn't want to stay in Riverdale. Wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I came from a family of definitely hard workers,
mm,
what most people would call blue collar,
yep,
but blue collar in the sense that they did well for themselves. My dad retired from UPS 40 plus years. My grandfather and all of my uncles retired from their careers, 30, 40 years
mm,
at one job.
mm,
Again, I knew that wasn't something I wanted to do.
yep.
So, again, was never really sure what it was that I wanted, but definitely sure on what I didn't want. So, as I mentioned about the childhood growing up in a predominantly white environment,
Yep.
for me, when I graduated from high school, I wanted to go to an HBCU.
Okay.
I don't think my parents truly understood the reason behind it, and all they saw was the price tag,
Hmm.
and was like, no, we can pay for you to go to Georgia State. And then you can contribute, to your education. And basically that was it. So for the first year out of high school, I went to Georgia State for, I don't even think it was a full year, a couple of semesters. And at some point, I'm like, why am I paying or helping to pay to be in a situation that I don't want to be in?
Mm, mm, mm,
So
mm.
I left school, I left Georgia State, I left home, because I was a non-traditional student anyway. I already had a full-time job.
Yep.
So I just went and worked on my full-time job and moved out. So my cousin and I got a apartment together. And so, for a 19-year-old, I'm living a life, right? I got a car, got my own place, got a real job. I'm not working any fast food or anything like that. And
Yep.
so I was living a life. Excuse me, up until my coworker, who was at the time, like I said, I'm 19, 20 years old. My coworker is probably in her mid 30s, maybe early 40s. And she celebrated her 25th service anniversary.
Mm.
And something about that just really struck me. And I'm like, she been doing this for 25 years? Are you kidding me? I
Wow.
There's no way I could do this.
Mm.
Um, so I made a decision then to go back to school. And so now at this point, I'm probably 23, 24 years old, but I still wanted that HBCU experience, right?
Yep.
So I enrolled I got accepted into Clark Atlanta University.
Hmm.
So I drove over and was getting ready to fill out the information for my financial aid and to select my courses. And when I pulled in, I saw this line of people standing outside of this building, but I had no clue on what they were doing. So I just, walked into the building that it says that I needed to go in to register, and I'm told you need to get in that line. I'm like, I'm sorry, for what? What are you talking about? Well, that's the line for you to register.
Wow.
Where are your computers? I don't know exactly what year, but what I knew for sure were there were computers that at Georgia State 3 or 4 years earlier I registered via computer.
Wow.
So what do you mean I got to stand in this line with 100, plus people in it?
Mm.
I'm like, no, the experience is not that important to me.
Wow.
So I literally drove to Clayton State and I enrolled in Clayton State.
Okay. Another
Still at the
HBCU, right?
time had no. Clayton State, down by the airport. No,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
just a part of the Georgia University system, but no, not an HBCU.
Got it.
And so at the time, still had no clue on what I wanted to do in life. Just knew that I had to do something else because I could not sit at the time I was working at a bank, and I'm like, I could not sit in this office for 25 years doing this.
Mm.
So I started school, just did the traditional 2-year program of the general studies. The guy that I was dating at the time, who ultimately became my husband, his father was a computer programmer,
Okay.
and they lived well, how I would want to live. So I'm like, man, why don't I go and do this? And so I spoke to him, and I was like, I don't know that, Clayton State is necessarily the right place for me if I want to be a computer programmer. So he, spoke to me, and I ended up deciding to go to DeVry, transferring to DeVry. So I did my 2 years at Clayton State, transferred to DeVry, and got my undergrad in computer information systems. But this is where it gets funny, right? So my last semester, of course, you start working with the career counselors, and they start sending you, on interviews and things of that nature. And each time I would meet with, one of the counselors, they're trying to send me to jobs for programming.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so, they're looking at me like, didn't you just finish the computer information system
Right.
program? You took programming classes. That was the purpose of this particular degree. Yep. But what I learned in those classes is I don't
What you
want to
want
do
to
this.
so Anjanette, that is fantastic, and I'm gonna let you continue. But I wanted to kind of go back into some of these, and you're hitting on a lot of my questions. What is
Okay.
Dennis said, oh, Oscar says, there she is. Dennis Smith says, hello, Sugarfoot. What's up, SOGC? How you doing, sir? And then Rich Calhoun, Rich here. The guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Anjanette, you said a lot. You grew up in a majority white environment, so you were exposed to a lot of things early.
Correct.
Your parents were working class. You were exposed to the grit and the grind of your parents having to fully support you, and support the family and work.
Right.
They had a professional career, but being
Correct.
blue collar and having to work long hours and things like that.
Right.
Your parents kind of guided you into going to PWI, where you decided to make the decision that that wasn't the environment for you. And not only that, you were already working, so you're already getting a lot of experience, a lot of exposure, doing a lot of things during your entire life, and then you get to
Right.
um, you know, what was it, Clark Atlanta, and you said, nah, this isn't the kind of school that I really want to go to. Jump down to Clayton State, and that wasn't the right fit for you either. And then you went to
Yeah.
DeVry, where you graduated in a program and said that's not what I wanted to be either. So
Right.
so tell me this. Tell me this. By the time that you graduated from DeVry, what age were you? Do you remember?
I want to say 26,
Okay.
maybe
So you're
25, 26,
you're
somewhere
very
along there.
you're very young. You're experienced, though. You know what you want and what you don't like.
No, I didn't know what I want. I knew what I didn't want.
You know what you didn't want. That's right. That is
Right.
absolutely right. And you didn't settle on what you didn't want, which is fantastic. Okay,
Correct.
now continue on down that path and talk about. We already talked about your education, and now after you went from DeVry and you were thinking about programming jobs, where did you go next from there in the professional world?
So I knew again from meeting with the various career counselors, they were not going to be any help for me because
Mm,
again, they were within this structure of if you do this, then you're supposed to do that.
yeah,
And clearly that's not how I operate. So I stopped going to those, and by happenstance, I found a consulting company. A consulting company found me. I don't know how it went. Oscar Jones was there, so uh, I ended up working with a consulting company that was rewriting the software I use for my job,
hmm,
for my current position. And so they saw the benefit of me being an end user
okay,
and was like, you would be a perfect business analyst. I had never even heard the term, didn't even know what that was. But they were like, you'd be a perfect business analyst because you know the current processes, and you understand how the software should work.
yep,
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll try that. And from there, that got me on my path of business
yep,
analysis, project management, and so that was the start for me.
got it. Okay, awesome.
Um,
Okay,
so from there, I've had various different jobs. Again, one of the things, as I stated, hadn't always been clear on what I want, but very clear on what I didn't.
Yep.
And so there were some things going on within that organization that was reminiscent to me of my childhood experience, right? There were privileges given to others that weren't necessarily afforded to me and like my co-worker, Oscar Jones, and things of that nature. So I thought it was time for me to try something else.
Got it.
And so I went to another job that really, I went to Peachtree Software that has been since bought out, but they were a competitor of Quicken.
Okay.
Excuse me. And that was a great experience because we did actual software development and the business analysts were almost junior programmers. So I did have, some experience because, in fact, that is what my degree is in.
Right.
And so how the business analysts worked there was they really didn't allow the developers to think. You wrote out the requirements, you developed the screens, you almost built prototypes, dating myself, but I'll go on and say it with Visual Basic.
Yep.
You would build your prototypes, and by the time you finished your part, the developer had minimum coding to do to ensure basically what their role would be was more so integration, right? To make this screen work within the entire product.
Got it.
So I really enjoyed that experience. And so what that also, I'm a huge proponent of education. And I love to learn, I love to read. So that then got me on the path of, okay, so maybe I'll go back to school and I'll get a master's in technical communications. So I already had the development background. Now, with the technical communication degree or master's, I'd be one hell of a BA, right?
Yep.
So I got the technical piece, I got the communication piece. I'm good to go. Was living the best life. Had recently gotten married, had a kid, built our dream home. Everything is wonderful. So I thought.
Pause for a quick second, Anjanette. Pause for a quick second. What's up, Rich? How you doing, cousin Felicia? We gotta have you on soon. What's up, Charmaine? How you doing? And Oscar. So Charmaine, Trini Lewis said, hey, Anjanette. Oscar said, Big Red K got hired off the strength. The rest of us had to train. When we grow up, we're going to be Anjanette.
So Oscar is saying that because, and to his point, when this consultant company hired us, because we were all, juniors, they went through this program that the company had. They spent 6 weeks in Boston learning again about programming. God forbid had I had gone there. And all of this stuff, some kind of way, I didn't participate in any of that. I was, immediately thrown into the work environment.
Wow. That means you had some big shoes to fill, but also at the same time, they said you didn't need to train. That's what it was. So let's do this. So let's fast forward to you making a decision to get into Georgia Tech, because one of the things I want you to answer in this part, Anjanette, is you talked about your education and what it has done for you. Talk about, and I'm assuming I know the answer to that question. Talk about going to grad school and just give us a glimpse into what education has done for you. You said you're a big proponent of that, by the way.
Right, definitely. So I went to grad school what I felt was out of necessity.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back a minute. I went through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, as I mentioned before, we had just built our dream home.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, we either sell it or I got to buy him out. And I'm like, well, I'm not selling it. This is mine. So I needed to figure out how I needed some cash, right?
Yep.
So that I'd be able to continue to stay in the home, but also pay him out his part as well. So what that did for me was made me have a long talk with myself to try to figure that out. And again, wasn't sure on uh, what I didn't want, what I wanted, but I knew again what I didn't want, and what I
Yep.
didn't want was to have to sell my house.
Mm.
So somewhere, somehow, I came up with the I thought process of if I be a contractor, contractors are paid well,
Mm-hmm.
and I can get my money, and I'd be able to afford to continue to live this lifestyle. So I got a contracting slash consulting job, paid very well, and I thought I was living the life, right? And so I'll never forget my first day there. So I'm a single mom, got this huge house that I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to afford. And so I show up at the job. I'm in my best suit, got my hair laid, got my notepad. I'm ready.
Yep.
So, they walked me around, introduced me to my team. I was still a business analyst at that point. So they introduced me to my team. My team had a meeting, and, we're getting, tasks and work assignments, and I'm understanding more so about the project that I'm working on. And I excused myself from the meeting, and I told them I'd be right back if someone could just direct me to the bathroom. And I go to the bathroom and I vomit all over the place. I am so nervous. I mean, because this is totally different from
Yep.
everything that I've known, right? Because again, I came from a family that retired
Right.
from wherever they worked. And
Mm.
so now here I am working as a single mom, as a contractor,
Mm.
and in my family this isn't guaranteed. What are you doing?
Right.
So I was so nervous at that point. Recomposed myself, went back into that meeting, and I've never looked back.
Mm.
And that is what started the trajectory for me. So it was there in that organization, in that position, that I really started watching the project manager. And I'm like, I think I can do this. And it was another contractor slash consultant that was sitting behind me, and we're still great friends to this day. And she was like, "Well, why wouldn't you?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have the experience. All I've done is business analysis." And so she was like, "Girl, if you want to do it, go for it." So again, what I knew for sure was my contract was up there, and they offered me a permanent position. But just the way that I had seen several of the executive leadership speak to, the other employees and members of the project, I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be.
Mm. So, Anjanette,
So
let's talk about that role that you had as a project manager, that first experience. So, I want to ask this question: did you LLC yourself to become a contractor?
no, initially I did not. In this position, I did not. So I was a W-2 employee. Was it no 1099? I
1099.
was a
Okay.
1099 employee. So no benefits, no vacation or anything like that. But again, I went there because I needed cold cash, and
Yep.
I was getting
Yep.
it.
Yep. Which is great. And talk about how long that experience was. So to give people a glimpse into project management, if they want to go into that role, how long do typically these projects last when you're going into
A
contract?
project can last, it depends on the type of project. At that particular point, I was working on a government healthcare, Medicaid system. So those are multi-year projects.
Okay.
And as such, in this particular organization, I had the opportunity to, again, I started out as a business analyst. I was able to do the role as a tester. So I was aware of, what a tester responsibilities were. And then I also was able to do project coordination as well. And so it was being a project coordinator that made me decide, hey, I think I could handle the project management.
Yep.
And so though that wasn't necessarily the organization that I wanted to stay in long term, that was the perfect situation for me because it allowed me basically to work in all of the roles
Right.
within a
Right.
project.
Mm, mm. I'm getting a common theme from this already, from this story. It is experience and know what you don't want. That's what I
Right.
that's what I'm getting. That is what I'm getting from this. This and it is great. It is great. So we're talking about project management. So we're right on time with the questions and things like that. We're talking about project management. So talk a little bit more about that, the field of project management, and then you continued your education. Talk about that as well.
Correct. So for me, so when I left there, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to work as a project manager.
Mm,
I have been fortunate to have some people in my life that really believed in me when I didn't necessarily believe in my own self and my skill set.
mm,
And so I was given an opportunity to manage a small project. And so with that, I decided if I'm going to continue down this consulting slash contracting role, I better get my PMP.
mm.
That's the professional project management professional certification.
Okay.
And though it is important within this domain, a lot of organizations require it. One of the things that I just want to say is I know plenty of people with PMPs that couldn't manage a team opening up a UPS package. So,
So you have to tell us, Anjanette, why is it so important then?
so somewhere along the way, someone has believed, if you can sit for this exam and pass an exam, then you are a project extraordinaire, when that's not what that means at all. What
Mm,
that really means is you can read a book and you can answer some questions.
mm,
And I say that because, you know, all of the project managers that I know, none of us has used the methodology completely as it's prescribed by the Project Management Institute.
mm.
So, but if that's all you know, then that's all you know to do, which is why their team can't open the UPS box, right?
Right.
But because I've had the experience of being a BA, because I've had been a tester, I know how to code, though I won't.
Yeah.
Um, I think that is what has helped me to be a great project manager, because I do understand what it takes to manage a project, to be a part of of a project. So the only reason I personally got my PMP is, again, it's one of the things that's required if you really want to advance in project management.
So it's that
Um,
that must need check mark that we have to
Correct.
feel obligated to do for corporate America, if you would say.
Right.
Is the
Absolutely.
certification valuable? Is there anything taken from that certification that's valuable, or is it really that hey, you know what? If somebody can sit through this, um, they're qualified to continue to move on. It's kind of like how the standard is with college, right? You know, if anybody can go through college 4 years, whether they learn something or not, they are at another another level. So that it shows the commitment and all this other stuff. So is it similar?
Correct. And, I'm not going to discount the certification. There is some value to it, and it is great to know theory.
Mm,
However, just like, a college graduate, just because you graduated from college doesn't mean you know how to do this particular job. And it's the same thing. And
gotcha.
so you have to, as a project manager, you have to have the wherewithal to be able to be open to try different things, um, being able to relate with your team. And again, I think that's one of my strengths. Again, because I've worked in the various capacities in a
Right.
project, I am able to have a real conversation with them and understand, the pressure that they're under, the requirements that they're trying to work towards, and things of that nature. So I'm not going to say that, there's no value in a PMP. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is just because you have a PMP or you don't, doesn't make or not make you a great project manager.
Got it. Got
Again,
it.
as you stated earlier, it's just checking a box.
Got it. Got it. So I wouldn't recommend. Well, I would say this. I think people who heard that can make their own recommendation whether a PMP is valuable for them. But what I would say
Correct.
though is that it does open the door if you haven't been a project manager before to become a project manager, just having that sort of a certification. I would say. Would you agree with that, Internet?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
And again, that's one of the reasons why I set for the certification is as a contractor, I didn't want you to be able to throw my resume to the side simply because I couldn't check the box.
Yep. Yep. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And you talked about your unique experience of being a business analyst and having some experience with the design and even potentially coding, right? You
Right.
as a project manager, you have the experience of many of the people that is within inside of a project. So talk about that. Talk about what if project teams are made of that you're seeing as a project manager, and how you're able to relate to those people because you've had that experience. And that's not one of the questions, but
So
I think it's just a good question, important for people to get an understanding of.
right. And so, as part of the software development lifecycle, there's these, various phases. And so, generally, your team would consist of your project manager, your business analyst, your developers, your testers, QA resources, and then your transition team.
Mm,
And again, because I've worked in several of those capacities, I think I'm able to have a more thought-provoking conversation. And then I think it also helps with really understanding the task and also know when people are trying to pull the wool over my eye. When they are asked, oh, that's the requirements document. It's going to take me 200 hours to do that.
got it.
Really? So let's sit down and walk through the various tasks because as a previous BA, I know what I was responsible for and what I needed to do to complete a requirements document. Let's say it only took me when I did it, not saying that this is the same thing, same particular project, but it only took me 100 hours. You're saying 200. Let's sit down and converse and determine how did you do that estimation? And
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes, oh, well, wait a minute. So I'm not going to be able to snore with, all these various tasks and things of that nature. Because, we all know that people pad estimates and
All the
things of
time.
that nature. And to some degree, rightfully so. But at the same time, as the PM, I have to be able to question and ensure that it's not more padding than necessary. And so people aren't just sitting around wasting time and dollars.
That's important. That's important. We got some questions in the chat, and we're gonna continue on after the questions,
Okay.
Anjanette. So, Mr. Rich
Okay.
Calhoun said, "Did you consider Northwestern Kellogg Graduate School of Management for an MBA?" Come on, Rich, man.
Right. Rich, get out of here. Absolutely not. Georgia Tech all day, all the way.
I love it. I love it. Good question. Oscar said, "Burn." Okay. SOBC said this: recruiters hounded me when I updated my LinkedIn page with my PMP. Wow. Yep. So it is. It sounds like that recruiters are looking for that, and it's certainly a good way,
Correct.
as we stated, to get your foot in the door for the project management if you haven't been exposed to project management field before. So good feedback on
Right.
that SOBC.
Great.
TB
Right.
Jackson said, "Hey, it's Tony. So is this what you want to do now?"
Antoine and I was talking about that earlier. I'm not sure.
Yep.
But it's working for me now, and I'm going to continue to work it. And so that leads right into why I chose Georgia Tech and why I chose to get a MBA. And so again, with me being on the contractor slash consulting path, I felt it was important for me not to just be a great project manager, but someone that understood business as a whole, someone that was a strategic thinker, and to improve my business acumen. And I think Georgia Tech provided me with all of that. In addition to, it's a great brand to have on the resume. So very similar to what SOBC stated. A lot of times I have the opportunity to speak with people simply because they see that I have a Georgia Tech degree.
Another door opener.
Exactly. Right.
No, that is fantastic, Anjanette. So let's talk about, for anyone considering a career in project management, what are the three most important things that they need to do now to start to prepare for a career in project management? So this is for that person that's getting ready to graduate out of college or thinking about the role.
So it's very difficult to be a project manager when you don't have the experience of managing projects beforehand. So for that new person in the field, and especially for a college graduate, a great way to start would be project coordination.
Okay.
You participate in various meetings. A lot of times you assist in managing schedules of projects, assisting in writing documentation and things of that nature. So I think a job as a project coordinator is a great entry point.
Okay.
And then if you have the opportunity to be one of the other team members on the project, that still gives you the exposure to project management, because again, you still participate in meetings, and you would then have a better understanding of how to manage a project, what it takes. Let me say this, you have a better understanding of what it takes to manage a project.
Got it. Got it. Okay. That's wonderful. I want to ask one other question before we jump into the diversity pieces of it. So, as a woman, an
Okay.
African American woman, you grew up around a different class of people. You saw different
Right.
sides. You've experienced differences and segregation, biases, racism, whatever you want to call it, growing up in even in the corporate world. Talk about the challenges as a woman in corporate America at being a project manager.
There are definitely challenges. One being not necessarily respected by the team, but definitely questioning your abilities to be there, and the authority, right? So, I mean, what do you mean? I got to tell this Black woman, my comings and goings, what I've worked on, what I've accomplished, what I, am still outstanding on. There has been some challenges there. I'm going to jump ahead to one of the other questions that you had posed when we were talking earlier about corporate burnout.
Yes.
And I think for me, so the answer to that question for me personally is yes. To me, the corporation is, again, just another continuation of what I grew up in. So for me, that's why I fancy contracting. I am basically hired help, right? My role is to come manage your project to completion, and then I move on. So there's no perceived relationship. I don't have any alliances to you, and you don't necessarily have any to me. So it's just about me doing a quality job. And I think that's the role that I particularly that works best for me. I'll never forget sitting in an interview. We were actually hiring a BA, and I'm sitting there with another young lady, and so we're interviewing two candidates. The first candidate was an older white woman who had no technical experience. She was a prior teacher or something like that and had retired from teaching and was looking to change into, another industry or create another career. And so she figured, why not give business analysis a try? Mm-hmm. Candidate number two was an African-American woman, a project manager, had been a BA at some point in her career as well, but for the last couple of years had been a project manager, hadn't really been successful on securing another job. So she was like, she has the skill set, so she'd go back to being a business analyst. When the two interviews were over, the director came to us and was like, who would you all select? Immediately, I said the African-American woman, not because she was African-American, but because she had the skill set.
Right.
The other lady chose the white lady.
Candidate number one.
She had nothing of what we were looking for, but she was willing to give her a chance versus the Black lady who had the skills, who had the prior experience. And I'm just sitting there like, are you serious? And so, at that point, and was still, pretty fresh in my career, but at that point I had to make a decision that I wouldn't be a part of that. And I told the director, if you all hire her, I'm leaving. Because there's no way in good faith that you can sit here and tell me she's the better candidate.
Skill set to skill set. She crushed candidate number one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, that's just one example, right? We can all go on and on about, the opportunities that have been given to others that we have that we've had to, prove ourselves for 10, 12 years. Just recently in the last project that I managed, I watched a young lady who had been at the organization for 18 plus years. All she wanted was a director position. She had been a manager for 10, 12 years, and they were putting more responsibility on her, but one, not giving her the pay, and definitely not giving her the title. And so, she was like, I want to be a director. And to hear them say, well, I didn't necessarily hear it, but, getting it secondhand, to know that they said that she would need to be in the position for 6 to 8 months for them to assess her. It's like, are you kidding me? She's been doing the same job for 12 years.
Right.
Wow. But then the same organization is in the news today because they brought in 2 Caucasian women, hired them as directors, and they have no experience in the business.
So it is a club a lot of times, and corporate America may not be for everyone, right? So the burnout is real. I certainly see how people can certainly burn out because you have to play the game. And there's a game to be played in corporate America. And I would say this, it's like that pretty much in America as well. There's a game to be played, and some people just don't want to play that game. It's a game.
Right. And I have chosen not to play it to that level. And again, even as a contractor, right, there's still some level of monopoly that I have to play. And I'm willing to, go around the board a couple of times. But what I'm not willing to do is to have this to be the only game that I play.
Options. She knows what she doesn't want. I love
it.
I love it, Anjanette. So, Mr. Curtis Lane say, I just got off work. Can't stay for long. Just wanted to send love to my girl, Nat. She is full of wisdom, so y'all going to learn today. Absolutely. All right. So, SOBC said, what's the role of a project manager? Quickly answer that one, Anjanette.
So, in essence, the role I would like to compare the role of a project manager to a conductor.
Okay.
And within an orchestra, you have all of the different instruments who have to come together and play together, right? As an orchestra. And so, as a project manager, that's what I'm doing. I am ensuring the various teams come together to solve a problem and to implement a solution.
Love it. No, great answer. Great answer. Mrs. Tiffany Wade, my sister says, where do you see yourself in your career in 5 years? What will it take for you to be satisfied with your career? And I must say this, like, knowing what you don't want, but always going and getting experience is continue to push yourself, Anjanette. It is continue to
Right.
challenge yourself to grow and learn and be diverse across the board. I say this: it is diversity, the epitome of what diversity is. Getting those experiences and
Right.
so forth. But talk about that question. Where do you see yourself in your career in 5 years, and what would it take for you to be satisfied?
What would actually satisfy me is to bring my project management experience in some form or fashion into the education arena. Again, we spoke prior to the beginning of this, and a passion that I have had since I was a kid was education, teaching, actually.
Mm,
I always knew that I didn't want to be a teacher, but I love to see kids learning. I love to see kids happy. I love to see kids be kids.
mm,
So hopefully, with my project management experience and then with the experience I'm gaining by being part of a homeschool co-op for my youngest son, I now have some experience in education. I've even considered going back to school
come on, let's
to get
go.
some kind of degree in education. I have to talk softly because if my sister or anyone in my family heard me, they, probably scream because I've gone, to school more than half my life. So,
That is wonderful, though, Anjanette. I see that as wanting to continue to be the push for more. As I stated before, the commitment for what school is. It is a time commitment for sure, but I completely
right.
understand why you would do that. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay, so you want to get into more of a school? That's wonderful. Okay,
In some
education.
fashion of education.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. And Rich says, I saw you as a powerful force for change. So you're a huge change agent in your role as a PM in the
Oh,
state government. Wow, that's a good compliment.
oh, thank you for that.
So
And
let's
that, what, one of the things that, can I just pause right here for a minute?
absolutely.
Because one of the things that I think in any career, whether it's, project management or whatever it is that, someone choose as their endeavor, it is important to have great mentors. Rich Calhoun has been a wonderful resource for me. And again, he's one of the ones who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And I would also like to add is I've had some great
Mm,
African American mentors
mm,
who have been, who've given me opportunities that I never could have imagined.
mm,
Um, I've had my mentors to just call and say, you know what, there's a project that I'm aware of that they need a PM for that I think you would be perfect for. So I'm going to submit your resume. And I've gotten several jobs simply by the relationships that has blossomed. It started out as mentorships that turned into friendships.
wonderful. Wow, that is key, Anjanette. And you hit it. You nailed it. My question is for people that don't understand that, especially with having people that are like you, giving you those opportunities and being that mentor for you. What does that do? Explain that. Why is it important, and what does it do for you? Right? Obviously, it gave you a lot of opportunities, and you said that they
Right.
believed in you. But talk about the importance of that, because I want people to get the importance of that.
The importance of that is to one, to have a sounding board
Mm,
and to have someone to help you. What is the word that I'm looking for?
the
Helping
guide.
you along the path,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
To guide you
yeah.
on the path,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of bumps in the road. And so your mentors are there to help you understand why that bump happened, help you process what you could have done differently or how you should have handled that, and then help you to devise a plan to continue to move forward. And Rich Calhoun has been all of that for me.
Mm, mm. Thank you, sir, Mr. Rich. Wonderful. Thank you for giving back and doing that. We need certainly need to pay it forward. And let's
Right.
do this, Anjanette. Tawana says, "Will you be her mentor?"
She already knows the answer to that is yes. I'm just waiting on her.
Awesome. So let's make the segue now. Let's make the segue and talk about your thoughts on Black Heights and its initiatives.
I think this is, a great opportunity. Again, we were speaking earlier, and I think a lot of the only difference between we were speaking as it related to students, but I think it is the same as in a corporate environment, in a work environment, is to have exposure.
Mm,
And for me, to your earlier point, I have worked in several different industries. I've worked in several different capacities. So I have been exposed to several different career choices and opportunities.
mm,
And so I think it's the exposure that Black Height has, in that you've had very diverse careers on here with the people that you've spoken with. And maybe for someone fresh out of college, they don't even know that these various career opportunities exist.
mm-hmm.
Like today, I still don't know what Curtis do, but he claims he does it well, whatever that is, and it's obviously working for him.
Right.
So
Gotcha, Curtis. I hope you're watching too, brother. No, but
but
talk
yeah,
about that
so it's
exposure
exposure
more.
to different careers.
Yes, and
Right.
talk about
Exactly.
the why exposure is important. I want you to go there, because we were talking earlier about kids in general, and I have to have you
Right.
back on a panel to tell a story. That's going to be something that I'm passionate
I would
about, and
love
obviously
that.
you're passionate about it as well. We were talking
Right.
about the homeschooling, guys. It was a fantastic conversation, and um, you said something to me about the difference between certain races and classes of people is exposure. Talk about that.
Right.
Kind of repeat what you said to me during that.
Sure. So again, the only difference is the lack thereof of exposure.
Mm,
So a lot of the other kids, they participate in various summer internships,
mm,
depending on their families and their family backgrounds. Right? They may have someone that owns a company,
mm,
so they're able to, during the summer, work within their family's organization and know what it is to run a business, to know what it is to have to review a profit and loss statement. There's a lot of things that they are exposed to that African Americans are not generally exposed to, right?
mm,
Because, generally in high school, we're working some fast food job. Then we go to college. And then some career counselor will say, well, because you did this degree program, here are some jobs that you can go and apply to.
yep.
And again, we don't necessarily know that there are so many other career opportunities that are out there, because we haven't been a part of it, nor in my case, in my family, I don't know that anyone of my aunt and uncles went to college.
Mm,
So, only thing that they would be able to expose me to is a job that they've been on 20, 30 years. And for someone that is a great opportunity. But
yep.
for me who wanted more than that, I wasn't really afforded that.
Mm, mm. No, that's exactly it. That is exactly it, Anjanette. I think the exposure is huge. I think I said this to you before. After getting the experience of, living overseas and traveling as much as I do, I wish I can take students from, a high school, top students, the top 10 of a certain school, to just show them what the world is like, and that the world is bigger than the United States. And if you can't make it in the state that you're in, do you have an option to move to a different state? The United States is huge. And if the
Right.
United States isn't a place for you, there's other countries that are absolutely fantastic that you have no idea about it, that it will fit what you want. And you can find an opportunity to live. It's out there. And exposure does that for you.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
Anton Walker, what's up, my brother? He said true. We talked about Black Heights. Let's also talk about, what does diversity mean to you, Anjanette?
I think diversity is important. I don't know that I have actually experienced any organizations that I've worked in that have really made that a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know you've had a couple of other people on the panel working for, I believe it is ADP, and
Yep.
just from what I've seen, they make a conscious effort to for inclusion,
Exactly.
and I think that's great. I think it's a great opportunity, for the African Americans that work for such an organization. Again, I haven't been a part of an organization that was such a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's discussed. Of course, it's stated that, yeah, we believe in diversity. We give everybody a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But what people say and what people do are two different things. And
Yep.
so if you look at the management, and if there's 50 positions and only two are held by an African American, are they really about diversity?
Mm, 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 mm. So it's about the senior leadership, absolutely. And you think about it,
Right.
with, with,
Right.
with, with the initiatives that a lot of these corporations are putting in place, a lot of them are doing quite well at it. I know Intel just, they met their diversity goals based on the population that they put out there. You have companies now starting to make it very public into their diversity initiatives and showing that
Correct.
what that data looks like. To where they are a representation of the environment that they're in as a corporation.
Right.
And I
Correct.
think that's fair. But you have a lot of companies that say they're doing it, and there's no representation at all, right?
Right.
And
Or it's the one or two people, on a
yep,
board,
typically you find
so
none.
that they can check a box.
Exactly.
So that they
Yep.
can check a box
Yep.
and say, yep, we got diversity.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, so we're gonna jump ahead, and we're gonna talk about you, how you are balancing work, finding a way to continue to stay educate yourself, um, and balance the family. How do you make all of that work, Anjanette? How do you do it?
So for me, again, that's one of the reasons why I do contracting. The very definition of a project is it's a beginning and an end.
Mm,
So when it ends, I'm not the one that wants to stay on, do the operational and maintenance work. So for me, that's a lot of times downtime for me, and I'm able to re-energize myself and take some time to spend with my family and um, take different classes and things of that nature. There was a book that I read, and I actually brought it so that I can make sure that I quote it correctly. There's a book that I read a couple of years ago called The Motivation Manifesto: 9 Declarations to Claim Your Personal Power. And it's by Brandon Bouchard. Um, that particular book completely changed my life.
Mm,
And I say that because the entire premise of the book is about living your personal freedom, whatever your personal freedom looks like for you. And you be willing to go after what that looks like. So for me, at that particular time in my life, it was important for me to travel with my kids
hmm
and to have the freedom and the flexibility to be there for my kids when I needed to be there, however that looked.
hmm
And so, uh, traditional corporate 9 to 5, go into the office, sit in a queue, all day until 5 o'clock hits, and then come home was not what I was looking for.
mm,
That's not. I am a very free spirit,
hmm
and I needed a job that supported that. So after reading that particular book, I decided I wanted to create a project management job that I can work from anywhere.
mm.
So whether I chose to sit at home in my pajamas or sit on the beach and take my conference call, with a club soda in my hand, if it's not after 5 yet, I have um, I have the freedom to do that. And so I knew what I didn't want.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want a 9 to 5. Uh, I hired a life coach,
hmm
and she helped me figure out what it was that I actually wanted. That was the type of career that I wanted, and that's the career that I have created for myself right now.
Mm.
I think it was Tiffany Wade that asked earlier, where do I see myself in 5 years? Still not quite sure, but that's okay because I can create another position the same way that I created this one. I truly believe in several of the principles from The Alchemist, one being the universe will conspire to give you your desires.
Mm.
And when I made the decision that this was the type of career or this is the type of role that I wanted, amazingly, different people, came into my life, different situations happened that created this very situation that I'm in today.
Mm.
So I don't have to know where exactly I'm going in 5 years, but when I get there, if I like it, cool. If I don't, I'll create something else.
That's wonderful. That is fantastic. Wow. Well, creating your desires. I love that, Anjanette. That is a powerful message. And go back. You said the author of that book was Brandon Bouchard. What was the name of that book?
The book is called The Motivation Manifesto.
Okay, Motivation Manifesto. Okay,
And
very
the
good.
subtitle is 9 Declarations to Claim Your Personal Power.
Mm,
And, one of the things that he said is most time people are in careers and situations by somebody else's design, right?
mm,
So, as a child, your parent wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer, so you're a doctor or a lawyer, but you want? Is that really your desire?
mm.
Have you even stopped to take an opportunity to figure out what your desire is? Or are you just constantly going in whatever direction someone pushes you?
Mm, mm, mm. No, that's deep. That is deep. Um, Obviously, the project manager role allows for flexibility, especially as a
Correct.
contractor, where
Right.
it allows you to have whatever sort of life that you want and involve work and your kids and everything that you wanted to do to create that environment that you desire. That is
Right.
fantastic, guys. I any job that allows you to have the flexibility to be able to spend time with your family at the most important times is fantastic, Anjanette. I'm finding that right now in sales as well, as long as you're killing it.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, see, I need to write that down. Maybe that's a career I'll try in 5 years.
Then you get paid. You get paid a good amount of money by doing it too. Yeah. So I'm finding that about sales. You do have some flexibility, but you do have to hit it hard. When you have. So it's
Right.
kind of like,
Right.
you speed race for a bit, and you can drift when you need to. So. Um,
And that's exactly, what project management is, because depending on where you are within the project and whatever your timetable that you're up against, you very well may have to do that. But once the project is completed, you have your downtime, and if you handle your finances right, you can take 6 months off if that's what you choose to do.
that's wonderful. That is awesome. Let's
And
talk.
but other thing that I wanted to add with that though is
Yeah.
it is so important to have people in your life that understands that. And I say that because so many of us have been conditioned to a 9 to 5. Some people believe that there's security in a 9 to 5, and anybody that's in technology know that any day that you can come in and a product is no longer valuable as it was before, or the company is changing directions and things of that nature, and an entire team is gone. So
Yep.
I don't necessarily believe that there's security in any of that.
Agreed.
But one of the things that still gets to my dad is, oh my God, where are you working now? And so again, this is coming from a guy who has worked 40 years at the same place.
Right.
And then there's some friends again believe in security in a 9 to 5. So if you're saying, well, wait a minute, you're taking a contractor job, and the project is ended, so you better put your resume out there, you better start looking. Not necessarily.
Right.
It's okay to take some downtime. It's okay for you to sit back and figure out what it is that you want.
Mm, mm, mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic, Anjanette. Oscar says after 5 equals margaritas. Tamara Wade said great answer, and then SOBC says, "Come on, y'all, like the video." Yes, guys, if you're watching this video, you have to like
Thank you.
it,
Yeah.
especially if
You gotta
you
like
are.
it.
If you're learning, you're with us, guys. Let's get the likes up on the video. Thank you, SOBC, for that, for sure, my man. Like the video, guys, and also if you aren't a subscriber and this is your first time to the channel, hit the subscribe button as well as the notification, because we have a podcast or live cast every week. And now to the last part of the question, or the conversation, Anjanette.
Okay.
For anybody watching this live cast, and for people who are on it now, watching it now, and somebody who's going to watch it later on, what are the 3 most important takeaways that you would give them if they just fell on the end of the movie or end of the video, or just you want to resonate with them from this entire conversation? 3 most important things.
Number one, different things can be your motivation. Again, it's not always about you being clear on what you want. Sometimes being clear on what you don't want can be your motivation to move forward.
Yep.
2, I truly believe in education is important. And I'm not saying organized education as in going back to school, but definitely being a student your entire life, being willing to listen to others, to learn from others, and open a book. I'm always surprised at the statistics of people who haven't read since they graduated from school. There's so much you can learn from just reading a book.
Absolutely.
And then the third thing I would say is integrity. In this corporate world that we're in, the competitiveness drive people to do different things in an effort to get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy you put out is the energy that you get back. So you can only do these type things for so long and it's going to come back on you. So just live a life of integrity.
Mm, mm. I love it. That's wonderful. Let's start. Let's do a repeat. Different things can be your motivation, and find what that motivation is.
Right.
Education is important. Always be a student, and you know, as Anjanette mentioned, it doesn't take going back to school to get a your MBA. It doesn't take getting your
Right.
PMP. If you want to learn about something, just pick up a book, read it.
Right.
Um,
Correct.
and then last, have integrity. Have integrity. I love it. I love it. That's fantastic,
Mm,
Anjanette. Um,
thank you.
any last things you want to say, you want to share with the chat, or guys in the chat? Any things that you want to ask Anjanette? Before we sign off, I think this was a fantastic conversation, Anjanette.
Oh,
Anything you
thank
want to
you.
tell the chat? Anything else?
Um, Again, I've talked about the mentorships, and again, and with the integrity, I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Mm,
Again, when people work in different environments, they try to start up relationships with different people just because of a position that they are in or perceived power that someone has, and it doesn't really garner for true friendships. And true friendships is what make the difference. I mean, you can have coworkers and people that you know of, but it's truly the friendships that you make that is going to truly push you forward.
mm, mm. It's the power of the network
Correct.
and those deep relationships.
But what I want, I think, what for me, I would want to iterate is the deep relationships,
Mm,
because again, you can have a network of powerful people, but if those powerful people don't do anything for you, what does that really mean, right?
that's true.
So to say that I know Bill Gates, okay, that's great, but if Bill Gates hasn't hired me for a position at Microsoft, well, that doesn't mean anything. But
Mm,
if Rich Calhoun is on a project, or he's actually a program manager, so if he's is running several projects, and then to run project, that's the power of my friendship with him, not the network
mm,
necessarily, right? Just
mm. No, that is very important, Anjanette, and that's the thing that I tell people all the time is we talk a lot about our network. However, you have to cultivate the relationships in that network in order for you to have those
absolutely
deep relationships, right? It's not about just having a
correct.
mentor. You have to give to your mentor and your mentee. It's a two-way
Right.
relationship there. It is, and that's how you build that deep relationship. Absolutely, I think that is fantastic. SOBC said, any advice to a young project manager?
Um, Again, building relationships, true relationships, not just knowing people just because, again, of perceived power.
Mm,
So developing relationships is what I would say for a beginning project manager.
cultivate those relationships. I think that's the most important thing. Absolutely. Um, it's not what you know, especially after a certain period in your career, is who you know.
Right. Right.
and hopefully you
Exactly.
know somebody who's able to make a hiring decision.
Right. Or if not, make the hiring decision, especially be able to speak well of
Yep,
you
yep,
to the person who is.
absolutely, absolutely. The guys in the chat said, "Fantastic job, Mr. Irwin Henry, my brother." I'll be seeing him next week. He asked the question, "What made you interested in starting a homeschool co-op?" We are not going to go there, my brother Edwin. We were on the chat for about 15 minutes doing 30 minutes on the technology check, talking about that,
Right.
and we can turn that into a a live cast. I am actually going to do a live cast on that really soon and have Anjanette come on and talk about that because it was a very deep conversation and it's very important, very very important. Um,
Right.
Anjanette, for anybody in the chat that wants to know a little bit more about you, could they find you on LinkedIn, Facebook? What are ways that people can contact you?
I am on LinkedIn.
Yep.
My real name, because a lot of people who follow me on Facebook, I don't necessarily use my real name. So my real name is Anjanette Dawes, and I am under LinkedIn as such. So people can definitely reach out to me there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Um, Thank you so much for the conversation tonight. I'm glad we were able to get some time together. Thank you so much for tell your kids too for
Thank
allowing
you.
mommy to be away for a bit. I know it's late in Atlanta. And before we cut off, I want to get some feedback from you guys. I'm working on a project right now for Black Heights, and we're doing a video, and I want to share that video with you all and see what you guys say and give me some feedback in the chat if you like it. So, Anjanette, I believe you can see my screen. Let's do this.
Meet John. John was an exceptional college student, and he is looking to blaze a trail in corporate America. John has limited exposure to individuals that have risen past manager in corporate America to give him the lessons learned or tips to enhance his opportunities. John relies on what he knows, hard work, but it takes John 5 years to get his first promotion and 7 years to become manager in his corporation. Meet Peter. Peter was an exceptional student, and Peter enters the corporate world looking to blaze a trail. Peter's father and mother were corporate executives. It takes Peter just shy of 2 years to get his first promotion, and then just 2 years to get his first management role. What are the differences between Peter and John? Early exposure. Peter's parents were executives. That taught him the value of relationships in the form of finding a sponsor and mentors in his company. This led to Peter getting the coaching he needs to excel. Now meet Sharon. Sharon was an average student and enters the corporate world looking to blaze a trail. She found a company called Black Heights and asked her corporation to sponsor her. Her company made an annual financial investment for Sharon to get the exposure, coaching, and training she needs. It takes Sharon 9 months to get her first promotion and only 2 years to become manager of quality assurance. Corporations partner with Black Heights to enhance their talented individuals' performance, attract diverse talent, and improve retention. A gap that Black Heights aims to fill is to increase corporate diversity by providing their talent diverse individuals, by early exposure to what's possible, coaching and training so that these talent individuals can excel in their professions. Find out more about Black Heights by visiting https.
All right, that was it. So, leave me feedback in the comments if you guys liked it. I would love to get some information on that. Guys, as always, I appreciate the time that you spent with us. Anjanette, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
And
you. Thank you for having me.
we will see you all next week. Peace.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.